Hey there, how's it going? I'm here in Quito, Ecuador. Just kind of walking around the city here randomly. I was looking for a good spot to record a video, like a park or something like that, and didn't find one, so I'm just kind of in this little corner with some interesting little, I don't know exactly what they are. They look kind of Asian-ish, but who knows? And then a nice little rock in the grass here, so a sort of tiny little park here. So in this video then I thought that I would discuss the possibility that humanity at one time in the distant past could have actually been vegan or at least vegetarian. And obviously there's no way to know for certain on that, but from what I've understood, read in certain books, what people say is that the human digestive system, teeth structure, etc., goes more along with a vegetarian diet or vegan diet than with a meat-eating diet. And so this is definitely very compelling. The human body is, of course, very, very ancient. It does not just go back to the time of Christ or the time of the Egyptian pharaohs or even 10,000 years ago or whatever. The human body is hundreds of thousands of years old. And so it is certainly within the realm of reason to imagine that our bodies might have adapted to or conformed to a vegetarian or vegan diet because that was what was most, just survival of the fittest kind of stuff, because that was what was most readily available, and it was just, easy to pick fruit from the trees, and so why go chasing after an animal? And so, that is something certainly worth considering. And interestingly, then there is a theory that actually supports this as a possibility. And so I thought that I would talk about this book that I read several years ago. It is a really fascinating book. So I found out about this book from another book by Barbara Hand Clow, and I will put links down below the video here for both of these if you're curious to check them out. Barbara Hand Clow is an amazing author who combines spirituality with myth, archaeology, ancient civilizations, alien type stuff. It's this kind of whole hodgepodge mix, but it's very well put together, very informative. She uses a fair amount of real history and stuff like that. And so I read her book Catastrophobia, which talks about how the fall of Atlantis impacted humanity emotionally, psychologically, in ways that are still affecting humanity, and that we are still living out the trauma from that event. And stuck in these patterns, stuck in these emotional projections and fears and beliefs and all this stuff because of the immensity of that disaster which affected all of humanity. And so she cites in that book another book titled Catastrophobia. And so I was curious to check this book out because she said that it was a science-based book that explores this possibility of the fall of Atlantis. And so I got a copy of the book and started reading it, and I had kind of low expectations. Like I thought, okay, it's going to be kind of this sort of ramshackle, hodgepodge of kind of not that great of facts or whatever that might suggest that something happened around that time or whatever. But I was just totally blown away by this book and the immensity of very, very solid evidence that suggests that indeed there was this massive worldwide cataclysm that occurred. The book is titled Cataclysm: Compelling Evidence of a Cosmic Catastrophe in 9500 BC. So 11,500 years ago. And they arrive at that rough time frame through radiocarbon dating of many different elements. plants, many different forms of evidence. For example, the carcasses of mammoths. We've all heard about the story of mammoth carcasses found in Siberia or Canada or whatever, frozen in the ice, and yet in their digestive systems are like dandelion flowers, things that should be in a temperate climate. And so this has mystified people for, as long as this has been discovered, going back more into like the 1800s or so, as to how this could be the case. You have this animal, this woolly, furry animal that seems to be suited to a cold climate, found in the cold, and then it's eating these plants that couldn't possibly have grown in that kind of a climate. And so how do you explain this? And so what is conjectured in this book is that there was this worldwide catastrophe, and they don't know exactly what caused it. They surmise that it could have been a. Now I'm reaching back into my space terminology, and I forget if it was a nebula or a quasar or whatever, but some sort of a cosmic explosion that sent debris heading this way, collided with the planet, and it was way more than just a comet. Comets can be massively devastating as well, of course, but it was something that had multiple impacts all over the planet, and it was so huge of a event that it actually tilted the Earth on its axis. And so that's kind of the crux of the point here, is that they surmise, and it's purely just kind of conjecture, and this could be what happened, is that the Earth's axis was in fact straight up and down at that time, spinning around the sun, as we know it to be doing. Then there's the whole flat Earth debate, which I've already been leaping into, but we'll just say that we're orbiting around the sun. And so the Earth's axis was in fact not at the 23-degree angle that it is at now, but instead was straight up and down. And so what does that mean? That means that there were no seasons. So you have the Earth spinning around the sun, and all parts of the planet are getting an equal amount of daylight. It's like an eternal equinox. All parts of the planet have equal day and night, but of course as you go towards the poles, then that amount of light gets lessened. But you don't have the extremes. You don't have, say, in Canada, where it can be nice and hot, a super hot summer's day, and then it gets down to 40 below zero or whatever, and so that's going to obviously wipe out the possibility of a lot of different types of plants that could otherwise grow. They could grow there in the summer, but they can't grow there in the winter. And so this means that the flora of the planet, the forests, jungles, the plants, could have been completely different if that was the case. It would have been completely different if that was the case. And so you could have had a planet in which there was abundant fruit, like Hawaii or whatever, across wide swaths of the planet, a huge chunk of the planet. The poles would obviously still be cold, but otherwise you would have huge regions in which there was just abundant plant life, because there was no winter. Things would have been completely different. And so you can imagine that prior to this time, it is conceivable that in fact humanity might have been vegan or vegetarian. Why go chasing after some animal that doesn't want to be killed and risk your life to get a wild animal if there's abundant plants and you can just climb up a tree, fruits dropping on the ground, roots that you can pick, etc. So I just thought that I would put that out there, just as something to consider. It's a very fascinating theory. It is one of those places where I diverge from the commonly accepted paradigm of science. I think science has a lot of things right, as I've expressed in other videos. I think that they have our ancient past quite possibly incorrect. That there were, in fact, advanced civilizations that occurred that were in existence prior to this event, and as is as the myth goes, then this wiped out humanity to a great extent, and after this everything changed. It was a very long period of tremendous turmoil for the planet. The continents were shifted, and they show how this could very likely be the case, that the continents were completely different. And so there were advanced civilizations prior to this. You have the Bosnian pyramids. I really want to go there, check them out for myself. You have all of these ruins that are way underwater. Cuba off the coast of India, Yonaguni, I think it's called, off the coast of Japan, and elsewhere around the world. Real hardcore evidence of cities that are submerged way under the water, such that it could be changing sea levels, but it also could have been a result of the shifting of the continents. And so the Garden of Eden then could have been this time when there was no tilt to the Earth's axis, and we were living in just this perpetual pleasant climates with abundant plant life, without the extreme colds. People could have been walking around naked, climbing trees. Obviously there would have been a wide variety of different types of civilizations, as there are now, and there could have been these advanced civilizations building these massive pyramids. The Bosnian pyramids are much larger than the pyramids of Egypt. Archaeologists don't accept them, but they're being excavated every summer, and so the truth will come out on those at some point. But one final little factoid is that Plato, the Greek philosopher, who is the reason that anybody's talking about the fall of Atlantis, is because Plato talked about it, wrote about it, I guess, I would presume, and he said the fall of Atlantis occurred 9,000 years prior to him. He says that outright from what I'm aware of. These scientists in this book, Cataclysm, through radiocarbon dating, found the average dates to be 9500 BC. Plato was in 500 BC, 9500 BC, 9,000 years before Plato. So that's a very interesting coincidence, whatever, that those dates match up. So interesting stuff. And the Garden of Eden sounds pretty cool to me. I'd be cool with just cruising around, climbing trees and getting fruits and stuff like that. So anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.